Are franchise developers, are they doubling and tripling the cost to franchise your business? And not only the extra money that you may be spending on this process, are they introducing you to franchising? Are they developing your franchise in a way where it becomes a lot of form over substance and you miss the heart and essence of what you're about to build? Our franchise developer nightmare series continues. And guys, this is going to be super productive because if you're going to franchise your business or you're already a franchisor, we're going to talk about winning mindset, winning strategy and approach. And I have an email I want to share with you. So we spoke to a great business owner, actually has an amazing service industry business and a really nice person. Unfortunately, we're not going to be working with them, but they sent us an email. They asked us some questions. They said, hey, Charles, we're working with a franchise developer right now, and they've done everything for us. And so we only need a law firm. We only need a lawyer to fill out the FDD template. So they said to me, they said, Charles, our developer, our franchise consultant, they're going to deliver everything necessary, all necessary information that'll be precisely organized for your team to insert into the FDD template. My concern here, and in this particular case, I knew who the development company is, actually reputable people, but the expense is very high. We're talking possibly six figures to franchise your business. And what are you getting out of it? Well, this developer, and the email I'm looking at is going to present to me precise information. And they say here, items 7, 11, 19, and 21. Well, item 7 of the FDD is estimated initial investment. Item 19 is financial performance representations, and 21 is financial statements. So the point is that this new franchisor, this person who's entering the franchise world, they've spent some money, they hired a consultant. Now they're looking at the development of the FDD as sort of the last part of the process, sort of an afterthought, something that's pro forma. And basically, the thought being that it's a form. And why is this wrong? Well, I was speaking with a client also this afternoon, and he said to me, Charles, people ask me for advice about franchising their business. And they talk to developers and consultants who talk about modeling out their business. And his advice to them was, hey, you need to have a good business. You need to be thinking about your business, how you're developing it. And when it comes to franchising your business, you need to start with the FDD, the franchise disclosure document. And I found this take very interesting, right? Because when you franchise, it's not just legal, it's legal plus franchise development. And certainly those are the two things we do for our clients. But our client was sharing that the process of developing the FDD, how the legal integrates with the development is much more than he ever had experienced. In fact, this client had franchised his business years earlier, had franchised it with a developer. When he came to us, sales were not what he wanted them to be. And when we looked under the hood of the FDD, well, he was a service-based business, yet his FDD was built as if it was brick and mortar retail. He needed an innovative territory structure that reflected the seasonality of his business and different territories in the country. Whereas the FDD that was developed by the consultant, it was very generic. It was sort of a one size fits all. And the point and the lesson that I'd like to share is that you need to go through the hard work, and we need to do this in a way where we're developing your FDD, not where some consultant is going to give you a very large report where 80% of it's generic, or they're going to give you a specific list saying, this is your franchise fee, this is your royalty rate, this is your territory structure, and now go have a lawyer integrate it into a form FDD. Why do I say this? Because it's like getting to the finish line without running the race. And for you as a new franchisor, as an entrepreneur, someone going through the process, sure, you need to rely on those that have expertise and good information. But this is not let me sit back and let these experts fill out an addendum or an information sheet and tell the lawyer some of the data points. So for example, in this case, when they say they're going to provide me with all the necessary information to insert into the FDD, first of all, that assumes that the FDD development process is just a formulatic process, that it's a formula like plug and play, but it's not. When we're developing FDDs, we go through a discovery process. We start with an hour and a half in-depth brand discovery session where we're going to evaluate what your business is about, your products and services, what territories you service, what your financial numbers look like, and what does a winning strategy look like for your franchisees. It's not about a consultant or advisor telling you to adopt a 6 or 12% royalty rate. That's not where the win happens. It comes from the integration of your FDD overall. So I'll share some of the information, some of my thoughts from this email. Again, great person, looks like very successful, great business, and I'm sure he's going to do well in the future for sure, or certainly I hope so. So number 1.1, he's already gone through this process for a number of months. And now 2 months later or 1 month later is telling us that the developer is going to give us a list of factors to, quote, insert into the FDD template. So point one is it shouldn't be an FDD template. It needs to be prepared by your legal team. It needs to be built around your franchise system, built around what we're doing, how we set up individual territories, multi-territories. Do we have different dynamics related to what we expect your franchisees to operate? Why is this important? Because as lawyers, and we represent franchisors well beyond the initial franchising stage, right? So developers, they help you franchise your business, you're on your way. Well, we see what happens in years 1, 2, 3, 4, where franchisees may challenge an FDD, where there may be confusion, where there may be additional growth opportunity, how we need to structure our financial performance representations in year 3. So mindset, your FDD is not a template. And like our client had shared, the process of preparing that FDD and really tackling the legal issues is so critical for you to inform and educate yourself about franchising, and also make sure we're developing a custom FDD that's going to work not only today as you become a franchisor, but as you sell franchises and one day maybe sell your franchise system. The person then wanted information about how much it was going to cost for us to prepare the franchise agreement. Again, takeaway point here was asking how much does it cost to prepare the FDD, which in this case, the person believes, or the consulting coached them into believing that it's a template, which it's not. And second, as if the franchise agreement's separate. So takeaway point, your franchise disclosure document, it's a disclosure document. It's giving franchisees information, pre-sales information about who you are, what the fees you're going to be charging, and detailed information about what your franchise agreement says and what the legal relationship looks like. So when we're preparing an FDD, we're also preparing your franchise agreement and tackling things like what are minimum marketing obligations, what are royalties, should it be a fixed fee royalty, percentage based? But the key is we don't price things separately for an FDD and a franchise agreement. They're prepared together. The next comment comes down to about the franchise disclosure document. They wanted information. And again, by the way, this list of information, I'm assuming it's a list that's provided by the franchise consultant to this soon to be new franchisor. And the big takeaway there too, when you franchise your business, the center point is the FDD, and it's a legal document. So while franchise developers are involved in the development process, and some are phenomenal, you can't overlook that they're not lawyers, and they shouldn't be preparing FDDs, and they shouldn't be coaching or teaching people that the FDD itself is some type of form, just waiting for this consultant to convey a couple of data points. But here about the FDD, they wanted information about drafting with the client's input and the advisor's input, the FDD for our concept. I mean, the first point is people in the franchise world love using the word concept, and developers love using the word concept, and people talk about concepts and prototypes in marketing. You're not a concept, you're a business. You're an existing business owner, entrepreneur. You have a successful business. You're not a concept. Hopefully you're a proven model and we're franchising for the right way, but that's just a little point there. And they say here to me in this email, which I assume a developer who's not a lawyer, but is feeding their clients legal information, that the FDD should contain the required information arranged in the format compliant with the Federal Trade Commission and in a format ready to be submitted to registration states. Okay, so takeaways here. These consultants are selling at very high numbers pro forma information. It's like anything else in life. If someone sometimes accuses you of being something, it's usually a reflection of how they feel. So the consultant is coaching that the FDD is just a form, but yet it looks like the consultant is giving them form data, which is reciting basic information that you should be understanding what your lawyer. So of course, your franchise disclosure document, we need to prepare it where we comply with the federal franchise rule and state-specific franchise laws. And in certain states, we're going to register the franchise. Topics we discuss all the time. Takeaway point. Do you want to be spending $100,000 or maybe less or maybe more for a consultant to be feeding this basic information? And to the point of this video, are they doubling and tripling the cost? Are they costing you more money? Can you be saving money, get your legal right, be legally protected, learn franchising, but instead of spending $100,000, spend a lot less and then have money to market your franchise. Build out your franchise sales website, build out your media. Then the next question is about initial agreements and state registrations. Again, so now a consultant is trying to commoditize the most important part, which is the legal. They're telling their client, ask the law firm, will you agree to file in registration states and prepare our registration filings? Of course we will. And in fact, in our franchise launch program, when we franchise a business, we go through the legal development, the franchise development side plus the legal, plus it includes working on your trademarks, setting up your franchise company, registering your FDD, and even representing you in your first couple of franchise sales. Why? Not because it's on a list of some developer, because this is part of the holistic process of how we want to onboard you into franchising, teach you about compliance, and make sure you're doing things the right way. And also building a platform for growth. They asked a question, are we going to consult with them on the trademark? Of course we are, and we're going to file for trademarks. We're going to assess the trademarks. But why are we discussing this now in month 3? When you file a trademark registration application with the government, when you look to register your trademark, it takes 9 months before the government responds. So one of the first things we do when we're working with our clients on day 1 is we've already examined the trademarks, we've evaluated searches with the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and within the first week or 2, we're filing for your trademark applications. Maybe it's a new application supplementing an old one. Why do we do it right away? Because it takes time to hear back from the government, so why wait? They're asking another good question, what are ongoing services? Monthly retainer, a la carte fees, what does it cost to update? Well, I think this is important to consider. Oh, they go through a whole list. M&A work, mergers and acquisitions. Well, this is a brand new franchisor. Should they be focused on mergers and acquisitions today? They just became a franchise. And if you want me to tell you what the fee for a merger and acquisition is, well, first I'll tell you, and the best part of what we do is clients that franchise us with 4, 5, 7 years earlier. I love when we're working on their mergers and acquisitions, private equity investments, but a consultant is asking a new franchisor to ask the lawyer, what would we charge in the future for a merger? That's a silly question, right? Because the answer is going to depend. First things first, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's launch our franchise system, onboard our pioneering franchisees, build some success. Mergers and acquisitions, well, maybe 3, 4, 5 years from now, let's see how many franchisees you have, what their profitability is, how much revenue are you generating in royalties and franchise fees? Are we getting interest from private equity? That's when we're going to be focused on an M&A, a merger, or an acquisition. Why would we be talking about this now? Things we should be. They asked a question about what's a monthly retainer. As a new franchisor, you definitely need to focus on additional expenses. So with our clients, one of the core things we do in our franchise launch, we include representation in your first 2 franchise sales. So the answer to that question is we charge nothing extra to close those first 2 deals. Why? Because it may take a number of months for you to do that, and we want you to understand that we're part of your team and we want to educate and teach that process. Going forward, preparing franchise agreements, most of our clients are in monthly retainer programs or they pay a low fixed fee to prepare agreements. And even there, we don't lock our clients into contracts. Annual updates, well, for example, if we prepare an FDD this year, we don't charge extra to update it the next year. And after that, it's a couple of $1,000s for annual updates administratively. So nothing big there. Why do I bring this up? Why is this in the Franchise Nightmare series? Because I think this person is probably spent close to $100,000 on the franchising process, and it's with a consultant, and they haven't even approached development of their FDD yet. And I'm not so much worried if they have the money and they're going to spend it, that's fine. And I think the company they're using, it's a reputable company. They're genuine people. The question is it a good value if you're spending, say, in this case, $100,000? And I don't think it is. I think you're spending too much money up front preloaded on a process where you're putting form over substance. And what am I saying? The consultant may prepare a ton of reports for you, but the reality is the data is in your numbers, what your financial numbers are showing, what territories you're operating in, what's your proper profitability, where your leads are coming from, and then evaluating that from a development perspective as we develop your FDD legally. And there's so much to learn there, and we develop it really well. So should it cost you 100,000 or 80,000 to franchise your business? Probably not. Maybe it does, and maybe it's a good value, but I'd rather have that extra capital. So if the developer is giving a list of things to ask a lawyer, and we're not just a lawyer, we do franchise development. The number one question I want you to ask a franchise developer is, how much should you be spending after you become a new franchisor on marketing? And if you watch our videos, my suggestion is to focus on organic marketing. Let's not break the bank. Let's season your franchise offering, onboard your first 1 or 2 franchisees as you learn franchising, and then we could scale up. I promise you, right before this video, I had a great call with one of our clients who was new to franchising. We rebooted the franchise system, and now he's doing amazing things. And it's not because of us, it's because he's a pretty amazing entrepreneur, business owner, and now franchisor. But the key is that learning process over the past 2 years of giving them the tools to understand what comes next. And I want to make sure, rather than spending that extra money on franchise development, let's have some reserve capital, improve your franchise sales website, improve your franchise sales discovery process, avoid generic things like talking about concepts or franchising, and really provide prospective franchise buyers with a deeper dive into what motivates you and everything that's behind your brand.